Hello everyone, and welcome to another Singerreise video podcast. My name is Sarah Silvia and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us. Today we have number 5 in the Winterreise cycle, Der Lindenbaum. Der Lindenbaum is probably the most popular and the most well-known piece in the entire cycle. In fact, it's so well-known that it has become a folk song. Some people think that it was a folk song that Schubert has arranged, but actually it's the other way around. Schubert composed it to sound folksy, and it has become a folk song. I even remember the first time that I found it in a folk song anthology. There it was, it had the melody and the words, but it didn't quite have Schubert's tricky accompaniment to it. It was just the words and the music. I think that one of the reasons that so many people are drawn to this piece is because of the simple and intentionally folksy nature of it. It's not just the music either. Wilhelm Müller thought of almost all of his poems as being songs, just without the notes written in yet. This song is no exception. It intentionally has a folk song sort of cadence, a folk song form to it. On Schubert's side, he wrote the melody very simple and very easy to learn. It kind of sticks in the ear a little bit. It also doesn't have a very extensive range. There are almost no high notes really to speak of in this piece. In fact, because of the range and because it's so easy to learn, this actually makes it a really good piece for beginning voice students to learn. In fact, I remember when I was in my early college years and I got this song assigned to me. I was building my vocal library at the time, so I picked up a Peters edition of Schubert Lieder, Schubert songs. This obviously isn't all 700 whatever songs, it's just a selection. I got it in the sehr tiefe Stimme key. And for those non-Germans out there, that's the very low voice key. So I had a great time rumbling around on the low G's that are in there, and I only had to go up to about a middle C. It was the perfect song for a young bass like myself. There were, of course, all of those words. So German is not my first language, and it's not my second language, and it's not my third, and I'd say it was my fourth, but even that makes it sound a lot better than it actually is. So needless to say, when I was in college, my German was even worse. I remember trying to memorize it, and I kept swapping out bits of verses with their counterparts in other verses. And I think even when I got to the performance itself, it was a Nats competition or a jury of some sort. Even then, I don't think I got all of the right words in all of the right places. I think that this trip down memory lane is another one of those reasons that Der Lindenbaum has become such a popular piece. It's steeped in nostalgia. It's about memories and trying to remember those things that were so wonderful back then and kind of wishing that they were still with us here. Even the title of the piece, the linden tree, Lindenbaum. In popular culture of Schubert's day and of Müller's day, the linden tree was a recognizable symbol, both in popular culture and in literature, for being a benevolent force in nature. Lovers would gather underneath it, and it was a safe haven for travelers. Our wanderer, for example, remembers being underneath it with his love, and he even remembers dreaming sweet dreams, and he remembers carving words of love into its bark. As I mentioned in a previous video, I think our wanderer has a thing for graffiti. Of course, for our wanderer, things don't turn out all that well. He keeps hearing the tree speaking to him, saying things like, "Hier findst du deine Ruhe," which translates to, "Here you will find your rest," or your peace. But it's only a memory. There isn't an actual tree there that's calling to him. Instead, the harsh reality of the winter hits him. Thus far, we've already sung through 2 verses of the song, and each verse has had more or less the same tune. The first verse was major and the second verse was minor. But here, at this point, Schubert decides to take a little bit of a detour and do an interlude, or perhaps a bridge. He changes the vocal melody and, more importantly, he changes the piano part. he kind of whips up at this point a triplet pattern, a frothy, wintry mix, creating a lot of turbulence that's supposed to represent the wind. We've heard this triplet pattern in snippets already, once in the introduction and in between verses 1 and 2, but they were very, very short. Here, though, it goes on and on and on, all the way through this bridge. So the wind picks up, and in fact it gets so bad that it blows the wanderer's hat clear off of his head. But he doesn't go back for his hat. Instead, he entrenches himself even further into the winter and decides to proceed forward. He says, "Ich wendete mich nicht," which means, "but I will not turn back." I kind of like that. As soon as I started talking about the reality of winter coming, the rain started pouring and we could hear it on the metal roof. For the final verse, we return back to the original familiar folk-songy tune that we used in the first verse and the second verse. But Schubert wound up using up 2 lines of text going on his little wintry detour back there. So for the last verse, we wind up repeating the last 2 lines of text twice to fill out the entire verse. It's a little bit more melancholy than it was before. The wanderer still is hearing the tree speaking to him, but he's ever more dedicated on his path towards wherever he's going, and he's not going to turn back. The tree seems to be calling out with him in the final words, "Du fändest Ruhe dort," which is, "You would have found peace here." And that's all for Der Lindenbaum. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane for me. If you want to find out more about Winterreise or about the life of a working opera singer, I hope you'll take a look at the Singerreise YouTube channel. If you go by there, stop by, drop some comments down, and make sure to subscribe. You can also check out our website, singerreise.com, or our Facebook page. Connect, leave some comments, and let us know how we're doing. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the performance. Ich muss auch